Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And it is almost 7 a.m. And I've been checking the news, compiling notes for the past 2 hours now because amazingly the results haven't been announced. That is because when actually the results were showing an overwhelming victory of PTI independent candidates. That is what we're calling them. They are PTI, but they've been forced to be independent candidates. So, PTI independent candidates, they have all won in their respective constituencies. Sirtaj Gul overwhelmingly with 20,000 plus votes, and Dr. Yasmin won against Nawaz Sharif in Lahore, and Maryam Nawaz suffered a huge defeat, which resulted in her stopping the results midair, calling in the police, pulling all the PTI polling agents out, beating them, torturing them, kicking everybody out, not allowing any one authorized personnel inside the polling stations in of her constituency. There were about 102 polling stations in her constituency, and the results of about 45 to 50 of them were being announced when she did this. And as a result, the results were stopped. Media coverage was stopped. Everybody was kicked out. She and her people and the police remained behind closed doors. Okay, that is one thing you need to know. The Khwaja Asif totally lost. Rana Sanaullah, he was already caught red-handed, forging, rigging, scamming. So he's out. Votes wise, obviously the state managers would still not have him out, but the people kicked him out votes wise. So basically, this was an overwhelming victory of Imran Khan's, because remember, people are voting for Imran Khan. Okay, so when the results were announced that there were about 136 seats, that was just the National Assembly. So 136 seats seemed to have been taken by PTI members, with only 45, 30, 20 divided amongst PMLN, PPP, and Fazl Rahman's stuff, Jamaat Islami and all. So when that came on screen, then suddenly they just stopped. They blocked all the results to the media. They just stopped the media from announcing the results. Then suddenly, people waited till midnight and there was nothing, no announcement. Then suddenly, people found out that the chief election commissioner left his office in his car against protocol. And then he suddenly returned after some time, and still there is silence from the ECP. And some of the reporters on the ground, they had managed to gather some reports regarding the results, because other reporters were, getting fed up, and they were asking them live on TV channels that can we expect the results and what is going on. And they said that they'd spoken to the staff, and it seemed that the staff, according to the staff, the way things are going, you could expect the results from, to be delayed all the way up to tomorrow, or maybe even the day after tomorrow. So that gets me thinking that the chief election commissioner goes on an illegal trip because it's against protocol. He leaves his office, then he comes back, and then there's still total silence. So, and then there are now reports trickling in of how they could delay the results up to 1 or 2 days. That gets me thinking that, okay, so he's got his orders. And the fact that they are saying it could take 1 to 2 days means that they are now probably forging the whole thing Most probably, GHQ is going to prepare a fake mini election within their office in which they're going to create new results nationwide, and they're going to see where they can do what, and and then they will hand over those results to the chief election commissioner, and then the results will be announced. So they're probably creating results per constituency. If it's going to take a day or two, then that means that the Pakistan army, the establishment, are sitting down and they are creating results of each constituency. Because keeping in mind that in KPK alone, PTI has won to this extent that it can form its own government. Okay, that was the latest from what we heard until the results were blocked. So if PTI has won enough to form its own government in KPK, that means that now we have to see if the rigging by the army would mean that are they going to allow PTI government formation in KPK just so that they could, prove that, look, we did not really tamper with the results. Look, we gave PTI won in KPK and they're having their own government. So, if we had really tampered with the results, we wouldn't let them have their own government. So they might try to do that in order to pretend that their own forged results are fair results as the result of counting, of fair counting. Thank you to the international media, especially those channels that I literally named in my previous podcast, as to how I feel that they're compromised in the way they've always been giving. Sometimes they give the right news, and then sometimes they're suddenly like, they're giving the news as, dictated to them by their governments. But thank you so much for this time, at least reporting the truth, at least telling the world that the elections were compromised, that the voters were being discouraged from voting, that there was tampering, that this is a controversial election, that people have voted for Imran Khan, and that for all intents and purposes, Imran Khan has won the elections, and that tampering should be expected, rigging should be expected. Thank you for at least telling the world that they should not, uh, you know, consider these elections non-controversial. These were highly controversial elections. The fact that the PTI was not even allowed to campaign, the fact that even during vote count, PTI polling agents were dragged out, beaten up, and tortured, just so that Maryam Nawaz could stop the count and see what she could do to tamper with the votes. It is morning now. It is morning, and there is silence, dead silence in the GHQ. There is dead silence in the ECP. There is dead silence. And you know why? Because obviously in corruption they were united. Nobody amongst them would want Imran Khan to come back, because after what they have done to Imran Khan, what they've done to PTI has never been done to any political party in the past, no matter what anybody says. This is a fact. The amount of torture, the amount of insanity that prevailed at the hands of Nawaz Sharif, Maryam Nawaz, and their goons in the army and in the establishment and in the police, all because they had to please their master, the United States of America. And Britain, let's not forget the mother of all, Britain. Just for that, what they did to their own people, no dictator has ever done that. The fact that they killed Arshad Sharif so blatantly, the fact that they got another PTI member's father killed after illegally detaining him just to exploit the PTI member. So this is counted as the, first PTI death, officially, that a first politically created death, at the hands of the state. That a very old man is being detained illegally just because he's the father of a PTI member, and just to, to threaten the PTI member to withdraw from PTI. And Before they could even accomplish that, his father dies in jail. Before that, if you remember, Ammar Farouk, the little boy who died in depression because he couldn't see his father. These things have never been done by any dictator before. So the fact that Bajwa and Asim and all these people, the fact that they are responsible for dehumanizing their own people, for torturing their own people, for very openly and blatantly betraying their people, for committing treason in front of the public eye, the fact that they became so shameless and so treacherous, and the fact that the people will now never forget this because it has never happened before and they dared do this. These pro-Israeli, pro-American fifth columnists, these traitors, the fact that they actually dared to do this to their people, obviously the people will not forget, and they know that. So they know that if PTI comes back, then they're effed. They're totally effed. It is true that Imran Khan is a man of principle, and in fact, it is the fact that he's a man of principle is why these people were allowed to dance over our heads. If Imran Khan was anything like Zardari or like Bhutto or like Nawaz Sharif or Shehbaz Sharif, then during his tenure, he would have gotten rid of them. He would have gotten rid of them completely. He would have dismantled them to this point that they wouldn't have even been able to walk, let alone crawl into this country. But because he was a man of principle, he let them dance over his head and he let them dance over our head. And that is also the reason why people were extremely pissed off with Imran Khan. Why did he allow his enemies and our enemies so much freedom? And he is facing the consequences of it, and we are facing the consequences of it. You cannot deal with them in a matter of principle. And I'm sure this time Imran Khan has learned his lesson. And people will not allow Imran Khan to be a man of principle and leave them alone. No, in fact, being a man of principle, he should not leave them alone if he ever comes. They should be tried for treason and they should be hanged. They should be given capital death because that is the law. Okay? They have committed treason. Nawaz Sharif, Zardari, Bilawal, Maryam Nawaz, Shehbaz Sharif, they have all, Hamza Sharif, and Khwaja Asif, Rana Sanaullah, every single one of these people in PMLN and PPP, and Fazlur Rahman, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, his son, his party members, the army generals were involved, the people in the establishment, they must all be hanged for treason. The Punjab police must be completely removed. The Pakistan army too must be completely revamped. This is something I've been saying for a long time. And they know that this is something that the public will definitely want. And this is something that if they allow fair and free elections to prevail, if they allow their results to prevail, then they are effed. They're screwed. So yes, they're in a mode of panic. Okay? They never expected the people to come out like this. And believe me, the way people came out. Despite the fact that they shut down the internet, they shut down the mobile services, they tried to give people wrong information, they provided them with ghost polling stations. They did all of that and more. They dug around, they dug up the roads around the polling stations. They, tried to restrict movement. They delayed the process. As I told you, they were so slow. They didn't know anything. They had untrained people and they were so slow. They deliberately became even slower so that they could delay the whole thing until the time was up. They didn't even extend the time in most of the areas, in a majority of the areas, although they always extend time so that they can finish with those who are queuing up in line, but they don't allow new people to enter. That's how it's always been done. But this time, they just closed the doors and they left hundreds and thousands of people, unable to vote. They did all of that. And still PTI won. Still the turnover was so huge they cannot control it. Now, obviously, they will need 2 days to sort of, redo the elections in their own office. They will need 2 days so that they can create within their actual ghost polling stations, forged ballot papers, and then they'll create their forged Form 45s and all. Because how is it possible that the ROs have not yet gotten the Form 45? How is it possible that nobody has yet received the Form 45? Results started trickling in very soon. In fact, in some polling stations, they literally began rigging in such a way that in some polling stations, they actually handed over a Form 45 within the first hour, and people were still out, standing, waiting to vote. You know, they refused to register many votes. They tried to look for reasons to, send voters away. They've done that. But at the end of the day, it was still a huge turnout. This was, again, the people voicing, they were voicing their rights, basically. They were giving voice to their own right. The fact that the people had to come out like this in these conditions, this is very, very important. This is crucial. And I do agree with those who are saying that now people probably need to come out again and stand vigil in front of the ECP as a warning that if they're trying to tamper with the results, if they're trying to dismiss our votes once again, if they are once again trying to silence our voices, then we will not stand for it. Yes, I think, yes, we will have to do that again now instead of sitting at home. Or as it is, the PTI workers, the PTI candidates, the PTI officers, the PTI polling agents, they have been up all night because even though the chief organizer of the PTI gave his victory speech, and he won from his own constituency as well. But he's still advised all the other PTI members, their polling agents, their representatives, everybody, that they should stay vigilant. They should please not go home, and they should ensure that they have the Form 45 in their hands before they leave. Because if they relax now, then things can go very wrong. And he's right. He's right. So this is how the public too. The public is, yes, the public did its best. I swear the public was out at night, the night before the elections. In many areas, the public was already out. In the morning, we reached the polling station before our time, and we had already seen people queuing in so many stations nearby. And although we were the first in our station, we were the second actually in our station. But at the same time, because our station did not just cater to people from our area, they catered to people from different areas, so they had a lot of different rooms, per area or per constituency. So in our constituency, we may have been the first, but right next to us, for the other constituency, there was already a queue. Okay. And it was hardly 8 o'clock. So imagine how disciplined, and what even surprised me even more was the discipline. You should have seen the discipline. These people stood in a queue. Even if the queue went all the way up to the roads, they stood on the sides of the roads. There was no traffic in the first place because everybody was out voting. But even if there was any traffic, it would not have been disturbed. It would not have been tampered with because the people were so disciplined, and they were literally lined up all the way on the roads, but on the sides, on the sidewalks, on the sides, and it was so disciplined, and people were so peaceful. Nobody could even look for a reason. In fact, as I said, from our own experience, even the policemen, they did not want to do anything seriously. They did not want to do anything to the people. They were not even happy when they saw how rigging was attempted at many places or in many ways. Some of them, the policeman that, was standing there when we were confronting the presiding officer, who at the end everybody was so amazed that he was the presiding officer. Seriously, nobody could believe he was the presiding officer because he knew nothing. And at the end, he had to go somewhere again every 2 minutes to ask somebody about something. And at the end, when we were like, when the woman is like, I'm so sorry, but I would have just done it, but I cannot do it without the presiding officer letting me. And then everybody asked her, who is the presiding officer? And she said, he's just the same man that just left. And everybody was like, what? I mean, imagine. You should have seen the stunned silence on everybody's faces. Were like, what? That was the presiding officer. And so and even the two policemen that were there, one in plain clothes and the other in his police vest, they were both, one in the police vest, he was a bit older, and he was like, he ended up just laughing at the whole ridiculous situation. The other one was like, it's exactly what you think. That's what he said to us when we were like, okay, so they're basically trying to uh, waste votes. And he's like, whatever you're thinking, it's exactly that. And at the end, he said, you know what? Let's just stay calm, because at the end, what is right and what is true, that is what will prevail. The truth prevails. And that in itself just showed you that, look, even the policemen were like, why are they just fracking with us all? Why can't they just leave us the frack alone? Why can't they just let people, be? So you could see that. So the fact that especially, the younger people, again, as I said, my generation is a generation that will never kowtow to these people. And the generation after ours, I mean, come on, they are literally going to tear you to pieces. They're even more aggressive than we are. They're even more sick and tired than we are. We got nothing, but they've absolutely got nothing, thanks to the treason committed again and again and again and again by somebody or the other that crops up from within the army or the politicians. So, yeah, I mean, as of late, this is what is going on. Okay, everybody is waiting for the results. There are no results. But there is this thing that there is a senior member of the PMLN, of Nawaz Sharif's group, had literally said, and everybody's quoting him because what he said was, something that people felt had to be quoted. And he said this was the biggest defeat ever for PMLN, right? And other senior members of the PMLN were like, they very openly and honestly said that we hope to God that they do not try to tamper with the results, because this will backlash, this will backfire, this will completely ruin everything. The people already mistrust the system. And if they try to fight this, if these people try to fight the people on this, and if they forged fake results on the people, we don't know what will happen. So we hope sanity prevails. And we hope they don't do any such thing now. We hope they don't do any such stupid thing now. And this is like literally the Nawaz group people saying this. Because after what they'd seen, and what they'd seen, what the people were doing, and what they saw, that how the people were reacting to all of it, they got some sanity back into their brains. Now they're hoping that the army and Nawaz Sharif and all should, have some sanity. In fact, Nawaz Sharif actually kind of admitted defeat, to be honest. Nawaz Sharif and his daughter, they were seen to very quietly leave the Moral Town office, that is their campaign office, and go home, and everybody's like, what happened to them, And in fact, Nawaz Sharif was literally making plans to go back to England, and he was making plans to take his daughter back with him, because he knew what would happen, if they tried anything now. But it seems that again, from GHQ, somebody just, decided to encourage him and his daughter that, oh, don't worry, don't worry. We will still do things. We can still bring this around. And actually, even Nawaz Sharif knows that he's effed. Even if he is brought back as, and if he's brought into the office as prime minister, even if it's for just 1 year, I mean, that is his dream. His dream is that he should complete that 1 year of tenure. I mean, what are you going to do in that 1 year? You're going to hand the whole Pakistan over to US on a platter. That's what you're going to do. So, I mean, just again, because of a few insane a-holes, a majority of the world suffers, because of insane people in the American and British parliaments, and because of the insane people in Israel government, and because of the insane people that they have strategically placed in our countries. Madness prevails. It's amazing, isn't it? So, I really do not know what to say. I mean, first, when the results were initially trickling in, I was thinking maybe I should note them down and see. But then I thought, okay, let's wait. And then, as I said, as soon as it showed overwhelming majority of PTI taking 136 seats in the National Assembly alone, they're like, okay, they just closed everything down. They shut everything down. They shut the media down. They shut the counting down. They shut everything down. So we're all still waiting. And as I said, the way they're going, it seems that maybe they're going to sort of, literally create their own uh, elections, create their own ballots, create their own countings, create their own Form 45, and then create their own results and hand it over to us. And they might just to just to appease the world and to pretend as if it's all free and fair. They might allow Balochistan and KPK to have PTI, provincial government, formed by PTI. Don't know. Don't know at this point. But what I do know is, as I said before, they can do whatever they want to. But the price that they will have to pay is very heavy. The price America, Britain will have to pay is very, very heavy. And the price that their minions will have to pay is going to be even heavier. I'll be damned if our generation and the generation after ours, if we let these people get away with it. I'll be damned. The whole problem is that we've been letting these people get away with it. The older generations were compromised. They've been letting these people get away with it. We cannot afford that. We need to make an example out of them. We need to make an example out of Bajwa. We need to make an example out of Asim Munir. We need to make an example out of the whole Nawaz Sharif and his family, the whole Sharif family. We have to make an example out of Zardari and Bilawal. We have to make an example out of Fazlur Rahman. We have to make an example out of every single person that was involved, indirectly or directly, with this whole treason, this whole treacherous affair. We have to make an example out of the Punjab police, out of the army, out of the establishment, and we have to make an example of the ECP and every single person that is in the caretaker government. We have to make an example of all of them. That is the only way this country can be put back on track, with people literally shaking in their boots if they even think about this. I mean, imagine that Raja Sikandar Sultan, the chief election commissioner, actually leaves his office against protocol. He goes and he takes his orders and then he comes back. And now he's quietly waiting for the results to be handed over to him. Seriously? What the frack does he think we are? Well, this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.